It was a cold autumn afternoon in Washington, D.C. The streets were bustling with people, all lost in their own world. But amidst the crowd, an elderly veteran sat alone on a park bench, staring at the memorials that honored his fallen brothers in arms. His name was Richard, an 82-year-old retired Marine who had seen the worst of times and had given his all for his country. Yet on this day, he felt invisible, just another old man lost in the city's noise. Little did he know, someone was watching. Someone who had spent his life portraying heroes on the big screen, but in that moment would become a real-life hero. That someone was Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks had been in Washington for an event honoring veterans. But instead of rushing to the venue, something made him pause. He noticed Richard sitting alone, lost in thought, his hands trembling slightly as he clutched a small American flag. The actor, known for his kindness, walked over and sat beside him. "Good afternoon, sir," Tom said, offering a warm smile. Richard glanced at him, his eyes tired but still holding a spark of pride. "Afternoon," he replied, not recognizing the man sitting next to him. Tom noticed the military patches on Richard's jacket and nodded respectfully. "Marine Corps?" Richard straightened up slightly, as if instinctively responding to the call of duty. "Yes, sir, served in Vietnam." Tom's eyes softened. "Thank you for your service." Richard chuckled dryly. "Not many people say that anymore." Tom frowned. "Well, they should." As the two men sat together, Richard began to share his story. He spoke of the battles he had fought, the friends he had lost, and the struggles of returning home. He had built a life after the war, worked hard, raised a family, but time had taken many things from him: his wife, his closest friends, and now his health. With a modest pension barely covering his needs, he had been struggling more than he liked to admit. Tom listened intently, never interrupting, never rushing. He saw not just a veteran, but a man who had given so much and asked for so little in return. Then something unexpected happened. Tom reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and made a call. "Hey, I need a favor. Do you know of any veteran housing programs in D.C.? Richard looked at him, puzzled. "What are you doing?" Tom smiled. "Taking care of a hero." Within an hour, a representative from a local veteran support organization arrived. They had resources to help with housing, medical aid, and financial support. Tom personally arranged for Richard to receive assistance, covering his immediate needs and ensuring he had a warm place to stay. But he didn't stop there. Tom Hanks, one of Hollywood's biggest stars, walked with Richard to a nearby diner. They shared a meal, laughing and talking like old friends. Tom made sure Richard knew that he wasn't forgotten, that his sacrifices still mattered. "Tell me about your life after the war," Tom said as they sipped on steaming cups of coffee. Richard sighed and took a deep breath. "It wasn't easy. Coming home felt like stepping into a different world. Jobs were scarce, and people didn't understand what we had gone through, but I did my best. Got a job as a mechanic, married my sweetheart, raised 2 kids. Life was good, for a while." Tom leaned in, listening closely. "When my wife passed away 5 years ago, everything changed. My kids have their own lives, and I didn't want to be a burden. I tried to manage, but things kept getting harder. One day, I realized I had no one left to turn to." Tom's face was full of empathy. "You should never feel like you're alone in this world, Richard." The moment was captured by a passerby who recognized the actor and shared the heartwarming story online. Within hours, the post went viral. People all over the world reacted with admiration, praising Tom's act of kindness. Major news outlets picked up the story. Veteran organizations saw the post and reached out to help Richard and others like him. Donations poured in, and strangers started offering support to elderly veterans in their own communities. For Richard, this was more than just a lucky encounter. It was a turning point in his life. Within a few days, Richard had a new place to stay, fully furnished and equipped, access to free medical care through veteran support programs, a network of people who cared about him. When asked about the moment that changed his life, Richard simply said, "Tom didn't just help me, he reminded me that people still care." And it didn't stop there. Tom, inspired by this encounter, made a public call to action. He encouraged people to look after veterans, check in on their elderly neighbors, and show appreciation to those who served. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they don't carry weapons. Sometimes they just sit down on a park bench and listen. Tom Hanks didn't have to stop that day, but he did. And in doing so, he reminded us all that kindness, no matter how small, can change a life. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible real-life stories. See you in the next one.